Yeah, bang bang Rahul, good morning. Sorry I'm just like this, but I'm just been for a long walk. I've been walking some big hills and I like to have a big sweat up, yeah. I just got to come back and do you know when I'm walking about, I get time to think about my old mates and people that I've known for years, yeah, and people that always in me, always be there, you know. So sometimes you've got to talk about them. Like my mate Jimmy Tippett, yeah, the old man. We go back a long, long way. Since 1970, 78, 79, right the way through really, because I used to pop and see him, but I didn't pop and see him at the end, which I wish I had have done, you know what I mean, because we had so much to talk about. He was such a good man. And when I was to train at the Beckett with him and all that, when I first started training with the Beckett, he started teaching me little moves that he'd learned as a boy, and he can bang, Jimmy. So I mean, he was one of the hardest bangers that I know. Yeah, well, he is the hardest banger that I know because there wasn't many people that can bang like that. Yeah, I mean, he used to muck about with me, Jim, and left hooks, right hooks, and I said, Jim, you've got to stop it, mate. And just playing around, you know. I said, you've got to stop it, Jim. I said, you're really hurting me now, mate. I said, you've got to stop it, yeah. And he said, oh, muck about, what, and all that. But serious when we was got serious in the gym, yeah. He trained me so hard. I used to get me to run miles and miles and miles behind his car. He'd say to me, right, I'll meet you so-and-so place. He'd take me there. He said, this is where it's the route. He'd bring me back 5 miles and then shoot off, and he said, I'll meet you there in that place, yeah. And I'd get there and he wouldn't be there, Jim, you know what I mean? And I'd be running down the road and he'd pass me, you know, he'd play games with me, you know what I mean? Yeah, I love Jimmy, mate. A great, great man, great, powerful man, and a great, dangerous man. He had a lot of respect. I mean, not a lot of people that I know Ronnie Olliffes, you know. Ronnie Olliffes was a very, very dangerous man. Could really have it, Ronnie Olliffes. He looks after proper gangsters, yeah, Ronnie Olliffes, mafia people. And he had a lot of time for Jim, a lot of time. And Jimmy was telling me about a time that he was in a pub in Bermondsey, I think it was the Crown pub in Bermondsey. That was years ago, about 1970, 1994, 93, 94, around about them areas, yeah. And I remember him telling me, but do you know, as I'm walking down the road and I'm thinking about Bill the Bomb, because I was in Wandsworth with Bill, and because me and Bill done a few things, this, that and the other, and Bill was always bouncing about, you know, and he can hit Bill. We've done a few paedophiles in there, and Bill can hit, yeah. But I remember the time Jimmy told me about like Ronnie Olliffes, you know, and about a pub, the Crown pub in Bermondsey, and what it was, Billy Williams hit one of Jimmy Tippett's mate and knocked him spark out, yeah, Bill the Bomb. He was a bit of a bully, yeah, Bill, and he was a little bit of a junkie. He got into the drugs really heavy, yeah, and he became a real bully. He was a good fighter, good boxer, mate, and he knocked one of Jim's mates out in the pub. Jimmy put it on Bill the Bomb, big time. Bill the Bomb's arsehole fell out, mate. His arsehole fell out and he ran to a spill, you know, Ronnie Olliffes' spill. And Ronnie Olliffes said to him, he said to Ronnie Olliffes, listen, you got to remember, all this is that I've been told, not only from Jimmy Tippett, from other people, yeah, that was at the place at the time, you know, and just me walking down the road, I've remembered these things, and I think to myself, these are things that people should know, you know, about Jimmy Tippett, you know, and Jimmy put it right on Bill the Bomb, and Bill the Bomb was a bully out of his nut on drugs, and he was knocking people out in the pub, and Jimmy went up to him and said, listen, get outside, you're going to have it now. Bill shit himself. He did. He crapped himself. He didn't want to know. he runs to Ronnie Olliffes. Ronnie Olliffes had a spill. He runs to Ronnie Olliffes. You know Ronnie Olliffes, build a bomb, knew him quite well. Runs to him and said, look, can you give me a tool? He said, what do you want a tool for? He said, well, that Jimmy Tippett. He went, do yourself a favour. He said, don't go in there with a tool with Jimmy Tippett, because Jimmy's liable to take it off you, mate, and Jimmy will use it on you. Jimmy will stab you to pieces, you know what I mean? He said, do yourself a favour and go home, you know. And Bill thought about it and said to Ronnie Olliffes, you know, I know he can have a right fight, can he, Jim? He said, listen, let me tell you something. If you and Jimmy have a fight, he said, I'm telling you that you'll come second best. And it'll be a good second best, I know, but he will bash you up, mate. He will hurt you big time. So do yourself a favour, Bill, go home. So Bill went back to his manor. They met about 3 or 4 months later and shook hands and just become pals, you know what I mean? And it's funny, isn't it, that not a lot of people know Ronnie Olliffes. I mean, Ronnie Olliffes, he's got no reason to lie about this. You know, it's what it is. I mean, Dog and Erith. I think it was Dog and Erith. Yeah, Dog and Erith was there. Dog and Erith, Johnny Sutties. Johnny Sutties, yeah, he was there. Dog and Erith was there. I mean, you know, there's a few faces that was there that witnessed that the old man put it on Build a Bomb. I mean, Build a Bomb was a proper man. He could have a proper fight, but there are people out there. That remember bits and pieces like that, you know. And because Bill, a lot of people got respect for Bill when he comes from Canning Town, all them areas, or where he comes from. They're saying how hard he was. I was away with Bill, and I knew that anyway. But when I hear about that, and you walk down the road and you remember what you've been told by people, you think, well, Jimmy was the governor, mate. Jimmy Tippett was the governor. I mean, he really liked Georgie Walker. You know Georgie Walker, Billy Walker's brother, and Georgie Walker was a proper gangster, and he had a lot of respect for Jimmy Tippett, mate. He's you know, he talks about it really, really well. You know, I met people, all these things that come back to me, you know, like when you're walking, because of what I was doing, unlicensed fighting, you go places with Jim. I used to go to the spills and lots of other places with Jim and Tippett, you know what I mean? You go in there and you're sitting down talking, and you're talking, I don't really know too much. You've got to remember, I come from West London, yeah, Acton. And for me to come to Acton, to their manners, yeah, and sit down and listen to all these people talk, to me, it was like, wow, do you know what I mean? It was a different thing. It's different. It seems like, I know we in Acton and West London, there were some really, really hard people, but we didn't have real gangsters as such, you know what I mean? Like, you got all the gangsters now. We got all that, you know, Davey Hunt, the Tibbses, the Dixons, the Adamses, and the Rileys, the Nashes, and all these people that big companies, yeah, big firms, you know, and over them, you know, and you don't get to really hear about too much around my manor, you know, and because of that, people jeer them up more so, you know, jeer them up, but believe me, there's some big hard people around my manor, West London, that haven't got big companies just by themselves that can really have it, yeah. And I'm one of the people that one of them people that just moved to these manors, South East Londoners and East Londoners and all that, and wanted to fight anybody because that was in me to do that. But all my old stories about Jimmy, mate. You know, and when you think about Norman Johnson, you know, and you think about, you know, other people like Ronnie Olliffes, I mean, they're proper people, mate. I mean, not many people know Norman Johnson or Ronnie Olliffes. You know, there's that, who's that? But they don't realise they're proper hard gangster people, yeah. You know what I mean? And you think about young Jimmy Tibbs, young junior Jimmy Tibbs, listen, we know sometimes people say this and people say that about him, yeah, but he must be so proud. He must be so proud to have a dad like that. You know what I mean? To have a dad who's done so much in his life, and young Jimmy's seen a lot of it. You know what I mean? But he's not seen most of it, and he gets to hear stories and bits and pieces about his dad. We all, every one of us would love a dad like that. You know what I mean? I mean, my dad died when I was 1, but I'd love a dad. I'd have loved to have to have a background like that. All my dad's background was bashing my mum up. You know what I mean? But my dad died when I was 1. So if he'd have died later on, when I was 16, 17, it'd have been more than like me that killed him, you know what I mean? Because I don't believe in bashing up mums, you know what I mean? Especially your own mum, you know, you can't do that. Even to talk down to my mum would be enough. Even us, kids, talking down to my mum, we get mullered. My mum, the only person in my life that ever frightened me that much was my mum. She petrified the life out of me, my mum. I mean, I was never at school, never ever at school. And my mum used to work as a school cook at Twyford, and I hated going to school. I used to bunker full time, just earning money going down the markets, just earning pound notes all the time. All I knew was to earn money. I think I was definitely dyslexic. You know, school was so hard for me, you know what I mean? Reading, writing and all that. And I like history, it's about all I liked, you know, and PT. But I never was at school that much to do anything, you know. So when I used to play truant and letters used to come from my letterbox, I used to get them, you know, and whip them up so my mum never see them. But you've got to remember, mum was at school. So my mum, she was a canteen cook, and sometimes my mum wasn't on the front dishing it out, you know. My mum was in the office because she was the top one. And she'd say, how was school today, Ray? I go, yeah, mum, good school. Did you go to dinner? Have school dinners? Yes, mum. What do we have? And my mum knows what that day was. And she'd know, you know what I mean, that I didn't go to school. But in the end, mum gave up, mate. Mum gave up. I mean, letters coming through the door, school board people coming around, going to put me in a home, do this, that, the other. You know, it's just like my mum wouldn't put me back home. What happened to me as a child, and they wouldn't. You know, my mum just said, "Look, you know, I don't know what you're going to do, Ray." I just went in to school. Got on the wall, you know, when they give all the names out, and then just went, left school, and went to the markets, earning money, and that's all I wanted to do was earn money. I didn't want to learn English and maths because I couldn't do it, you know. Anyway, it's not about that really. It's about Jimmy Tippett. You know, I miss him, man. I miss him so much. I miss him. He was such a good mate to me, you know what I mean? And to have all them people around you, all them gangster people and proper people, you know, your Brian Cox, you know what I mean? I mean, come on. Paul Moriarty, you know what I mean? All big actors, Johnny Bindon, you know, even though they put it on Johnny Bindon, and they was going to bash up Johnny Bindon bad, but you know, everybody in the end, you know, you're all mates, you know, but they all had equity, you know what I mean? You think all them people that were gangsters, they all had equity tickets. They all worked for the films companies, you know what I mean? Yeah, all these old-fashioned films you see, they're all gangsters. They play the part so well because they're all gangsters, you know what I mean? They're all gangsters. You know, I was only sick that I never got into it like I should have done. Everybody said to me, get into it, Ray, but I was too into me, you know what I mean? Yeah, whatever. And then got into the armed robberies doing more and more armed robberies because, you know, money, you know, £100-200 a week or a day isn't enough when you know, even in the 60s and 70s and 80s, isn't enough, you know. You want to earn grands. You know what I mean? You go out to earn money, I mean, big money, and then what happens? you get put in prison for a long time, you know, and that's what it is. I'm going to do a podcast, yeah. I'm going to do a podcast about me, all of the gangsterisms I've done as a kid. As a kid, young kid, I started at 17, 18, become a gangster, mate. All the pit I've hurt in my life, yeah. And how I've changed my life completely round. How I've changed my life, I think the thing that changed my life was called an IPP. Everybody says to me, and you've got to be truthful about everything. People that have been in prison a long time in their life, yeah, you know, and people said you've got regrets, and they go, yeah, I'm so sorry for what I did, and all this. Listen, I'm not sorry for what I did. I ain't got no regrets about what I did, you know. I've done what I did because that was it. Otherwise, I would have kept going in prison. If I've had regrets, I wouldn't have gone in prison, you know. But the last one, the IPP, the psychology, and all that, and them telling me this and telling me that, and you're not looking at it the right way, and at the end of it, you think, oh, I wish I had them skills. I wish I had them skills years ago. Would that have changed me? Maybe it would have done, yeah. But the IPP's changed me now. I talk about violence on my videos. I talk about violence when I do a podcast with other channels, because that's my life. It doesn't mean to say that I love violence. It's just that that's what happened in my life. And I tell kids them stories and big people them stories. Listen, I hate what I've done in my life now. After this IPP, I think to myself, nah, it's a waste of time, mate. Look, I've lost everything. I've lost mum, dad, families, everything I've lost, you know what I mean? Everything, you know, and what have I got? Oh, okay, I've got a big book coming out about my life, and it's fantastic, yeah? I've got a beautiful place, you know, but I'd rather be with my mum. I'd rather be with my stepdad, you know, and I'd rather be around my family instead of losing all this because I went in prison. But as I said before, I had no regrets about what I did, you know, no regrets at all, because I wouldn't have done it, you know. But the regrets I got now is that I didn't learn all that, like IPP, from the psychology. If I'd have maybe had all that well before, maybe I would never have done what I'd done, you know. And when I hear people do these podcasts, and I hear people do these videos, and they at the end people say, "Have you got any regrets?" I go, "Oh yeah, I wish I'd never done this. It's you know, I wish I'd never done that. I wish I'd never done that. You know, I've got big regrets about that." But they haven't, because they've been nicked all their life. Keep doing things. If you have regrets, you wouldn't do anything. You'd go, no, I ain't doing it no more. I'm not hurting anybody anymore. I'm not putting guns in people's mouths. I'm not punching people black and blue. I'm not doing it no more. That's my lot. But they go out and do the exact same thing again and get nicked and go back in prison. And, you know, the time, as I say, the time that I knew that what I did was wrong was when I got the IPP, and I went to myself, if I just had all them skills that psychology gave me years ago, I would never have been in prison, perhaps. You know, I would never gone out hurting people, perhaps. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, it's one of the things that's happened in my life. And listen, of course I've got regrets. I've got regrets because I've lost so much. I've got regrets because I've lost so much. I've lost everything, yeah? You know what I mean? And anyway, that's what's happened, yeah? But, you know, I just love my mate. I love Jimmy Tippett. I'm going to do a podcast with his son. We're going to sit down and talk about what's happening in our life. His boy, young Jimmy Jr., so a lot of people run him down, but he's lucky to have a dad like that, yeah, that he can look back on, because his dad wasn't no armed robber and all that. But his dad, yes, he was a violent man. Yes, he was a violent man. Yes, you couldn't take liberties with him. You would get hurt, yeah? Yes, all that, yeah, it's true. Yes, you couldn't muck about with this geezer, mate. He'd punch you around the gaff. He doesn't need a weapon, mate. His weapon's is in his fists, and if he hit you, mate, he'd bust you up. This geezer, if he hit you, he would bust you up. And any time I went to the gyms, any gyms that I went to, everybody knew Jimmy Tippett. Jimmy Tippett. I get Tibbs and Tippett mixed up, yeah. But everybody knew Jimmy Tippett. So you got me at it now. I said, fucking hell. Everybody knew Jimmy Tippett, mate. And I'm only sorry that I never talked to his boy too much about his dad. His boy must have so many stories about his dad that it's unbelievable. Like I hear a lot of stories on a lot of these podcasts that he's been on. And I think, oh, wow, is it true? You know what I mean? Because there's things he's saying to me I've never heard before, And then I walk down the road because, come on, I forget things. I forget lots and lots of things, And I walk down the road for walks, and I go to the gym and have a workout. And as I'm working out in there, the memories come back, and I think, oh, Christ, yeah, but I remember that. Wow, yeah, I remember that, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about them things, but I want to talk about them things with the son, with young Jimmy Jr. I want to talk about young Jimmy, Yeah, because there's so many memories, mate. We've got to get together, me and him, and do a podcast. I don't know who was the best one to do it with, but we're going to do it. We're going to definitely got to do it. We've got to do it because it's something that's got to be said. Things have got to be said, and they'll all be said. You know what I mean? Young Jimmy. Listen, mate. He's a lucky man to have a legend as a dad like that. There are, quite a few people. Not a lot. There's quite a few people like, like dads, gangsters. They've got boys. The sons don't like all that. Completely pull away from their dad. They don't want to be like their dad. But it is something to be proud of, mate. It is something to be proud of because they done it in the days when it was hard out there. Anyway. This is Bang Bang Rail, just a video. Obviously, I want to talk more about the old man, do you know what I mean? The old man is a proper man, a proper gangster. No, I don't. Yeah, he is a gangster. I've never seen the old man with anything in his hands. Never. Except those. And those his weapons and that. He had a good way of talking, mate, and his face his expressions would change, and when it changes, you knew: do I keep on? Do I turn around and go away? Do I say sorry, Jim? Apologise? That's what you do. Sorry, Jim. I apologise. Don't turn around and walk away because you ain't forgot. You remember that. So it's best to say, sorry, Jim, I apologise. And I see a lot of people say to Jim, sorry, Jim, I apologise. Because his dad was a proper man. Jimmy Tippett, mate. Jimmy Tippett. The people that don't know Jimmy Tippett ain't worth really talking to, because everyone I know knows people that all know Jimmy Tippett. Anyway, this is Bang Bang Rail. Please press the like button and subscribe, and good morning, yeah? Nice one.